The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus addressed to the people this parable. A man had 2 sons, and the younger son said to the father, "Father, give me the share of your estate that should come to me." So the father divided the property between them. After a few days, the younger son collected all his belongings and set off to a distant country, where he squandered his inheritance on a life of dissipation. When he had freely spent everything, a severe famine struck that country, and he found himself in dire need. So he hired himself out to one of the local citizens, who sent him to his farm to tend the swine. And he longed to eat his fill of the pods on which the swine fed, but nobody gave him any. Coming to his senses, he thought, "How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food to eat? But here I am, dying from hunger. I shall get up and go to my father, and I shall say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as you would treat one of your hired workers.' So he got up and went back to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father caught sight of him and was filled with compassion. He ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son.' But his father ordered his servants, 'Quickly bring the finest robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Take the fattened calf and slaughter it. Then let us celebrate with a feast. Because this son of mine was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found.' Then the celebration began. Now the older son had been out in the field, and on his way back, as he neared the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing. He called one of the servants and asked what this might mean. The servant said to him, 'Your brother has returned, and your father has slaughtered the fattened calf, because he has him back safe and sound.' He became angry, and when he refused to enter the house, his father came out and pleaded with him. He said to his father in reply, 'Look, all these years I served you, and not once did I disobey your orders, yet you never gave me even a young goat to feast on with my friends. But when your son returns, who swallowed up your property with prostitutes, for him you slaughtered the fattened calf.' He said to him, 'My son, you are here with me always. Everything I have is yours. But now we must celebrate and rejoice, because your brother was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to the Lord Jesus Christ. This parable of the prodigal son is perhaps one of the most widely heard and loved parables of Jesus. It's told to us only in the words of St. Luke, only one of the 4 gospel writers who includes it. Luke had sort of a sensitive side to him, and so he was very astute to stories that particularly focused on mercy and forgiveness. So he tells us this beautiful story, and it really captures so many elements of human experience. We have the 3 people involved. You have the Father, the richness of mercy that flows from the Father. It's almost an exaggerated sense of compassion and leniency in which the Father offers forgiveness. You have the example of the younger son, the rebellion that we see in him, and the absolute disrespect that this son had for his father, who, in a sense, wished him dead to get his inheritance. That's what it meant to say, "Give me your inheritance." It's saying, "I wish you were dead so I would get this inheritance." He was completely disrespectful. It was shameful the way he acted. But he was rebellious in what he did. So we have that, and then we have his conversion and him coming back. And then you have the older son, sort of represents the one who was always with the father, and he's angry. He's angry at the father for being too easy on his son. He's angry at his brother who showed such disrespect, and now it's almost like he's come back like nothing happened. And so perhaps the older brother believes that mercy is not deserved, or maybe he believes that the repentance of the younger son is not sincere. We don't know, but we have all those human experiences, and perhaps we can relate to all of them. One of the lines in this parable that strikes me is just a simple little line. It says, referring to the younger son, coming to his senses. Coming to his senses, he thought, how many of my father's hired hands have more to eat than I? I'm going to go rise and go back to my father. Coming to his senses. That's his moment of conversion. That's the moment in which he realizes that he has been wrong, that he has sinned, that he has been disrespectful, he's sinned grievously, and he wants to return to the Father. It's his moment of conversion. And that's a very key line in there, because it's true of all of us. When God's mercy is very profound and very rich and very generous. But in order to avail ourselves to God's generous mercy, we too need to come to our senses. It's not enough just to believe God is merciful and he'll just take care of everything, but we have to, on the human level, we have to come to our senses and recognize our own need for forgiveness and our need for a Redeemer. We saw that clearly in the writing of St. Paul in the second letter, where St. Paul says something to the effect, I was once a blasphemer, I was a persecutor, I was arrogant, and I acted this way out of ignorance, he says, out of ignorance. And then he came to his senses. He came to his senses, and the great mercy and grace of God covered him, flowed over him, a pure grace of God. So we have this, and this story perhaps more than any others, but the scriptures are rich and full of other parables that teach us the same truth. God is rich in mercy, and for our part, we simply need to come to our senses to recognize the great treasure and the great gift that this mercy is to all of us. I want to just take a few moments now as well and just visit with you a little bit on the diocesan collection that's underway now, the annual DAA, or Diocesan Annual Appeal. We're pretty used to that. It's been going on in the diocese for about 30 to 40 years, in which this collection is one in which helps support the countless ministries and programs that the diocese runs, and also that are made available to us at the parish level. I want to just highlight a few of the ways in which your contributions make a difference. First of all, we talk about vocations and clergy education. Our seminarians are funded in part from your contributions to DAA. Of course, it takes a lot of money to educate a seminarian, and also clergy education. Many of you have read in the Globe that I just finished my Good Leaders, Good Shepherds program. Many of the priests in this diocese have taken that, and that was funded in part, at least, by the generosity of the people on their DAA contributions. Catholic Charities is another beneficiary of your contributions. We have offices in Algona, Carroll, Fort Dodge, and Sioux City, and Spencer, and it provides counseling and other services to thousands of people every year. Pastoral services, things like the tribunal, which handles marriage cases. People who might be seeking an annulment would benefit from this service, and the fees that we charge for that are just a fraction of the cost that it really costs to run an office and pay secretaries and keep that office going. So that's just one area of pastoral service, but also our Safe Environment program, and educating and training all the adults who work with minors, with children. Our diaconate formation program, all of these are assisted by your contributions to DAA. Family ministries programs such as Pre-Cana and Engaged Enrichment. Every couple in the diocese who is seeking to be married is asked to go to a conference or a Pre-Cana class, and those are funded mainly by your contributions to DAA. Classes on natural family planning, marriage date night, and the Diocesan Youth Rally, which will be coming up in October. Educational ministries. More than 6,000 students in our diocese attend either a Catholic school or a religious education program. And those students will benefit from the returns that come back to parishes, and also the religious education library that's funded in Sioux City, that any program can seek and receive videos and other educational materials from that office. Totus Tuus, as we've run here in this parish for the last 2 or 3 years, is funded also out of this Camp Kyoka. Some other people go to Camp Kyoka. So those are just some of the areas in which your contributions help and assist the programs that are run in throughout the diocese. So I thank you for your contributions in the past and ask your continued contributions in the future. Here at St. Rose, because we support a grade school, we get a fairly good kickback. About a third of our goal comes back to us. 100% of, well, there's a certain minimum portion, it's in the bullets, and a certain minimum portion that is paid to the diocese, and then 100% of that, over that, comes back to us. And because we support a Catholic school, we get a higher rate of kickback to us. So it is a good source of income for us, and I thank you ahead of time for your contributions and your generosity in this collection. You'll be getting your letters in the mail if you haven't already got them, and you just drop your collection or your donations in the collection throughout the next several weeks, and we will bundle them together and send them to Sioux City from the parish offices here. Thank you very much.